So the thing that could actually turn around our democracy and actually save humanity, right? Because we are in the age of information. Uh, that happened during the 90s. 1992 was when the internet was first born, the year I was born. And here's the thing, right? There's all these ages. The Enlightenment age, right? The Enlightenment age happened after like the medieval period. Uh, well, not the medieval period, but the times, I guess, after it. People were, using printing machines, typewriters as they called them, and information in the form of books was becoming readily accessible to the aristocracy, right? Maybe not to the middle class and poor people, but definitely for the aristocracy. And it was a time of great change, right? Lots of oppression, lots of fucking tyrannical governments and kingdoms. But at the same time, science, we had a pure understanding of the scientific method, right? Science was replacing superstition and other magical thinking, right? But why am I bringing this up? Because, like the age of information, there was tons of different ages, and they all collapsed. They all collapsed. So, think about it, right? Go back to the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire collapsed because they had an expansionist worldview. They had to conquest in war, and therefore, all of their economy had to have more and more war, right? That's what they needed. So, unfortunately, resources are limited, and what happened? The Roman Empire collapsed. They spent too much resources on warring, weaponry, soldiers, and they couldn't feed their own population. Their expansionism led to a collapse. And if you think about the United States, most of the American budget goes to military spending. Like over $1 trillion goes to the Pentagon and military spending. So that might foreshadow something, right? Now go to the Middle Ages, right? One of the horsemen of the apocalypse, one of the four horsemen, right? First we had war. That was the Roman Empire. They expanded too much. They collapsed, right? Then we had the medieval Dark Ages, when these problems of war were now compounding with another issue: disease, human disease, right? They couldn't, do the cost benefit analysis of going to war, being violent, without spreading more disease. The more people that were killed, the more bodies would be on the ground, the greater level of infection, right? The Middle Ages were a dark time. People didn't know how to deal with this sort of disease. All of society collapsed, Therefore, you got a couple horsemen. You got war, you got disease, you got famine. Those were the Middle Ages. It was very dark times. And there was an entire collapse of the system, an entire collapse of Europe, an entire collapse of, the Silk Trade. And, at the time, what connected all these countries together, European countries, Asian countries, the Middle East, there was huge trade routes, and the Black Plague destroyed all of that. So we got 3 out of 4 horsemen, right? Well, death is a huge one. So I guess we do have all 4 technically. But let's go to another collapse. Let's focus on famine. Famine specifically, right? When you think of the Soviet Union, right? What happened with them in these communist countries? They were trying to artificially create markets that did not exist, right? Communism, all of the acquired wealth went to the state, right? It's not necessarily trickle-down economics of capitalism, but the state controls the means of production, right? So how did the Soviet Union fall? They tried to force markets. They put guns to the heads of these farmers, right? They said, hey, there has to be a market for agriculture and farming. We're going to put a gun to your head, and you're going to be productive we will control the means of production. The unfortunate part is, right, just like with herd dynamics, right, manifest destiny, right, limited resources, they could not control and create markets which weren't already there, right? They tried to base an economy off of farming and agriculture, and therefore their entire society collapsed. It fucking collapsed, right? Now with capitalism, modern day capitalism, we have machines and factories that outperform humans to, 100 degrees, to the power of 100, right? And now we have software and AI that it makes it incalculable just how much we have way more production, right? Productivity is through the sky, right? Unemployment, I don't know. We calculate for unemployment, we calculate for wages, but why does it feel for us, the people in the poor middle class, that life has always been shitty? Life has always been shit. Well, you know what? There's going to be another collapse. There's going to be another fifth horseman of the apocalypse. And the age of information will end, and the age of uncertainty will begin. That's what it is, right? Because knowledge is the ultimate tool and the ultimate weapon. We have to redistribute power to everyone. We have to democratize information. So, info technologies, right? The reason why, something like Wikipedia works. Wikipedia outperforms major companies across the world. In a lot of sense, it outperforms Google, which is now spiraling and stagnating as a company. Wikipedia succeeded because academics across the globe, they wanted to reciprocally be a community and give gift sharing in the form of knowledge. Therefore, you had free workers creating a free economy, which outpaced and outperformed large corporations, which have, billions of dollars. That's very ironic, right? But why is this important? Info technologies is not street sensors. It's not a sensor that detects people walking on a sidewalk. That's not info technology. That's a technology that, produces and, takes input of information, but it's not info technology in the sense that it's supposed to be liberating us as a social species. And this is why it's important, because we could use the blockchain, much like the major banks around the world took from cryptocurrency. They implemented that blockchain to make their systems more secure. But info technologies, what it should be, we could use the blockchain to democratize information. As Cambridge Analytica now has over 150 data points on every individual on the planet, they use these data points and these cookies and these tracking to basically create the algorithms so that they split the country of America into two political factions, a binary political worldview of bipartisanship, right? We can mend the political rifts if we democratize information, therefore allowing everyone to contribute and also obtain information. The blockchain, although there's ethical and philosophical concerns, we could basically set up this blockchain to have people own their social media content, their comments, so long as it doesn't breach privacy violations and it doesn't put anyone in harm's way or danger. We could aggregate all this information to outperform the police, the news media, all of them. We'd hold them responsible because they'd look like fucking idiots if the public can find out a news breaking story because they have the information and they retain the data because they own the data, because information was democratized, then we can make the news media look like fucking complete morons. And that's what we should do. We should democratize information through info technologies.